Hey guys, it's Matt here from Henry Shine. So week 2 from home in self-isolation. Just explaining how everything's going with me, what's going mentally through me. No, just joking, we're not going to do that. We're going to do a video today about designing in-house crowns, and what we're going to do, I'm going to show you a couple of techniques that you can use when you go digital to allow you to become a better dentist. A couple of, how to check occlusion, checking your margins, all that kind of stuff, how you can use articulating paper, so an analog way in the digital workflow that allows you to double check your bite if you're not sure of it. And then we're going to go scan my friend Test McTest here. We're going to design, what's this one? That's going to be a 2-3. So 2-3 we're going to design. I'm going to show you a couple of the blocks that we have, ones that might be particularly good for this design. And then we're going to go through and mill it out on this VHF Z4 Mill. So now I will do another video dedicated towards Plan Mecca as well. It's just the only downside is, as I don't have a compressor at my house, the VHF worked well to bring here because it's got a built-in compressor. So it's easier to plonk it down and get it up and running. So scanning pretty much well. Let's do that. What I'm going to do, we're going to move the camera, so it's just going to be looking at the screen. I'll do a quick scan, and we're going to do this in real time, and we're going to see how fast. Let's have a race. We're going to have a race to see how fast it takes us to scan, design, mill out a crown. And now I do have the option to furnace here as well. So if we decide to go something like Vita Supremacy, we could furnace this here. However, due to me having small children in the house and having an oven that gets up to 850 degrees, I'm going to turn it on and open it so you can see it, but we're not going to risk it. So I'll show you the benefits of something that doesn't need firing, which is a Vita Trilux Forte. So this particular block, I don't know if you can see it up there, but it's got a gradient. So as you mill it out, it's looking quite translucent on the incisal edge, and you're getting a nice shade through the middle of the tooth, and that's a really good finish. All you need to do is mill it out, polish it, and it's ready to go in the patient's mouth. So let's do it. Let's move the camera. Let's get it on. Okay, just to see how fast this is going to take us, I'm going to set up our stopwatch. Now I could do it on my phone. It's actually a little bit neater. You know what? Let's cancel that. Let's do it on my phone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the... Am I in the screen?
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up the timer on my phone, and we're going to just...
So I'm in real time. We'll measure in real time. So what we're going to do, we're going to get my set... Cut! So what we're going to do, we're going to set my my phone off in a timer, and we're going to test, and I'll show you how long this takes from start to finish. Alright, so if you can see that, we're going to hit start. Now, I'll just put that down there. We're going to go into our patient, test mill. We're going to go new case. Now, we're going to do this, so we're going to scan the patient with their tooth still there initially. So, new case, in-house, and we're going to tick 2-3, anatomy. We're going to choose crown. For us today, we're going to choose, let's go Vita Supremacy, A1, and the Z4 Mill. Next. So all of this stuff that I just put in there, technically speaking, you could have your assistant do that for you. Scanner is now ready, so we're just going to scan a quadrant. That's all we need to scan. That's all we need for that side. So I can do a quick trim now if I wish. And all patches, let's just clean that up. We're going to go next. So now we're going to go in, we're going to scan our pre-preparation. So this is before we've maybe we've numbed the patient up and given them the needle. And at this point in time, we're going to do our scanning. We're just going to get everything that we need. So this way, a lot of the data that we're picking up is obviously a lot easier to get now, and we're not going to be battling against saliva and blood down the track because we only need to focus on one tooth then, you know? So after we've scanned there, so the scanner then will also, if we go mark tooth, the scanner also has the ability to mark the tooth. Now what that will do, that will create a cutout section around there. So you can see it's now cut out our tooth, and now what I can do, bunk, let's prep. Now this is prepping time, so let's just go in and scan. So after you've prepped, that's all the scanning that we need to do. So you can see it's going to take you 10 to 20 seconds to finish off your scan after you've prepped. The software is going to ask us to mark the tooth, so it saves it in high definition around the prep. And also, if we wanted to, we can go all out and we can go down to HD photo, and we can take a HD photo. It'll then overlay over the top of the design. And then that gives us a really good indication of where our margin's going to go using that 2D photo. The reason also why I did the pre-preparation scan was, let's say if this was a partial and we had a clasp on that tooth. Well, by us doing the pre-preparation scan, we can reuse that design and we can copy it. So technically speaking, you wouldn't have any problems in redesigning another crown that's to go if there was a clasp on that particular tooth. So that's one reason why I'd include a pre-preparation scan. And then if we do come into here and we have a look at here, we can take the color out and have a look at the prep in black and white. So if there's any part of this prep that we don't like, we can actually even go in and we can use these two tools. So the lock surface tool, so let's say I'm happy with this part of the margin here, I can clearly determine where that is, and coming down through here and here. So let's say I'm really happy with that, all of this area. I want to lock it so that if we write any more data, or if we keep on scanning and the gingiva starts to collapse, all of that's locked, it's not going to move. But let's say I've got too big a gap between the base and where this is, and you can see where the software is tried to close the two. So that's why it's really important to have like a double O in there, to have a base so that it can actually see. When it can't see the base, it will try to merge the two materials just like that. So you can come in here, you can go trim. So now you can come in here and you can see our margin a little bit clearer coming through there. So you can see that if I were to put anything else over the margin, it's not going to rewrite over the top of there. So this is an incredibly handy tool that you can get within 3Shape software. So now, you can really see the benefits of going digital. So if any part of this margin was no good and we couldn't clearly see it on black and white, then what I would suggest doing is do your trim, work on your traction in that particular area, and then you can carry on and keep on moving forward into the next step. So all of this stuff is really important, and there's also this direction, so we can check our path of insertion at this point in time as well. So depending on where our path of insertion is, which this line here, that's our path of insertion. So if I were to use a viewing direction, you can see down here, you can hit use view. and that's going to let us know if we've got any undercuts in around that prep, which we don't. So now we're going to do the bite. Now, in terms of once we've done our bite, you can check at this point in time, you can check your clearance, which is, if you can see it just over here. So by checking your clearance, you can actually go into your prep and you can check as soon as the green comes in. So let's just say there. So we're looking at 1.7 mil worth of clearance. So we know that we've got enough clearance for this particular crown. We can also, if you wanted to, now this is if you hit contact only, you can see that we don't actually have any contact. So I haven't pushed down hard on this particular model. And also this model is, it moves around a bit because the screws are loose. So if I really wanted to be sure, what the software does do, if we hit over here, adjust for contacts, so what this does, this then tries to figure out the best contact for what we've got. So now you can see that it's actually built-in contact points there, in here, and then it's a little bit more open at the back there. So you can see that the software is actually smart enough to try and determine where the correct bite is. And also, it does give you the added advantage that if you wanted to use articulating paper, get the patient to bite down on it first. And then if you hit contact only at this point, switch view, open it up. The contact points here, there, are going to relate to wherever you've left the contact points when they've been down on the articulating paper. So that's a good way to cross-check digitally if you're happy with the bite and if you needed to redo it, if it didn't line up to where you thought it was. So from now, we just go next and we're going to post-process the scans. We'll do a live motion draw. Why not? Let's do it. So this is a good feature about the Trios, although so you can get the patient to do their live draw movements and you can integrate that into the scanner and the design software as well. That's fine. All right, so we're going to go next. So if we wanted to use that as our articulator, we could. So the post-processing stage, what happens is when it's scanning, it's saving the data as a images per second. So it's like a film, you know, like your old school film where it's like, and it's sorry about my children in the background. So it saves it as a film. Now, it changes the film into a 3D image. So that's what this process is, it's a rendering. So now it's creating an image, and because we mark that the tooth as a crown, it's going to save around the crown as a high definition prep. So your average scan might be about 40 micron. Around that prep, it's going to be 6.9 micron. So it's going to be really crisp and clean, really sharp image. And one thing as well that you can do as well that helps when you do go digital, when you're doing your prep scan, tissue management's key. So you'd be putting in 2 cords. You'd put in a 00 first, generally, and then maybe a 1. Pull the 1 out, and then all you need to do is scan around the prep when that happens. So there's going to be less chance that the tissue is going to collapse, and having the 00 in there will give you a base so that the scanner can see where the floor of that area is, if that makes any sense. So you can, if you wanted to go in a shade measurement, we can quickly add in a stump shade. So that's good, and then we can bring in our upper and we can add in a shade for that as well. Add shade. So that's a B1. So, or A2, depending on where you're holding it. So I'm going to stick with B1 and go a bit of length. So from here, we can also check the path of insertion as well to make sure we don't have any undercuts by clicking on the direction button. But for now, as we're losing time in my demonstration, so we're going to go through into designing. So you'll note that in around here, you can see the high definition, you can see the molding marks in the plastic. So that's what you're looking at 6.9 micron. This is what you're looking at over here at about 40 micron. So their Design Studio software, you come in, you click on the margin, and then the software tries to determine where the margin line is. So at this point in time, I'm pretty happy with that. I'll turn the color in, see if I'm happy. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I might maybe pull that out just there a little bit. And we can also bring in the HD photo. So you can see actually, if I hit undo and undo again, it's mostly better there. Let's just take that off. Yeah, I think the software's gotten that pretty good there. For me, I'm happy with that. Sometimes it's easier to determine where the margin is when it's in the black and white as well, monochromatic image. So from here, let's pull that up a little bit, and let's go next. So now this automatically is going to pick our path of insertion. So it's going to do that perfectly for us. It's automatically going to put in our cement gap and everything. So these are all tested settings. It also, as you can see right now, it's just put our crown into the right articulating place in its occlusal plane. So let's just open that back up again, and we're going to hit next again. So what it's going to do, it's going to place a crown into this position for us. I'm just going to hit accept and accept. So it's tried to do this design as best as it can regarding thicknesses and contact points. So if we have a look up here, you can see there's a little bit of a contact point where the crowns come through. There's a little bit of a contact point through there. So those contact points are near perfect. We can, if you wanted to, maybe minimize some of that. And let's adjust this out a little bit and bring our tooth up a little. So that's looking pretty good. If we wanted to bring in our opposing, you can see we've got contact here and here. So if you really wanted to at this point in time, what we can do is we can play around and we can, let's say, pull areas out. If you wanted to expand out some areas, thicken them up a little bit. And then you can use wax knife to make a couple of fine adjustments as well. Now, after you've made these fine adjustments, I always like the old smooth-a-rooney. And smooth-a-rooney just smooths out those areas for us. So if an area is getting a bit thin across the buccal or labial area, it's not going to be, a deal breaker. But definitely when it comes to occlusal, you want to make sure that you've got enough thickness, occlusally. So what I'm going to do here, I'm pretty happy with our height here. I'm happy with our contact points. Maybe I'll adjust the contact points a little bit more. So you can use, you can bring the crown out. You can bring the crown out, so you can see now our contact points are a lot thicker. But we do have the ability that if you wanted to, we can come into an automatic adjustments. So we can, let's say, I always like them about -2, hit that, and it's going to adjust our contact point to where we've got it there, and it will have done the same on this side as well. So that's good. Occlusally, you can see we're coming through the opposing. So I'm going to set that to +2. And I'm going to hit plus, and that's going to bring that just out of occlusion for us. So that's pretty much our crown design. Now you can, if you wanted to as well, by clicking over here, we can copy our original anatomy. So it's going to copy the original design. And we can also, when it comes into, if we hit patient specific motion, we can use the software to adjust. So that's a patient's live draw motion. and we can hit plus, and it's going to adjust that to the patient specific motion. Or if you wanted to use just a regular articulator, so if we hit undo, we can now come back in and hit play for regular articulator, and it's going to adjust that obviously off a generalized articulator. So that's done, crown designed. Now it's saying that there's an area that's a bit thin, that's this area here. Crown design's all done, and we're going to hit next. Crown 2, 3. So there is a large library of teeth that you can choose from. So, but that's all done. Now it's going to put it into the block. So I get to choose what block, it's going to be milled in. So this one's a LS14 block that it's chosen for its length and whatnot. So you can adjust the crown around, or you can adjust your sprue as well. You can choose standard definition, high definition, or fast. I generally suggest go high definition if you've got the chance. It'll add in, you'll notice when I choose high definition, it'll add in an extra burr to do the milling down there. So it just adds a little bit more time on the milling strategy, but you get a slightly nicer finish. It is marginal at best, but I'd say that in the tight crevices in a prep, up around, the occlusal area of your prep, it's not going to over mill internally if you're choosing high definition. And then all we'll do from here, we'll go into produce, and then it's going to produce that crown. Now I've chosen Vita Sopranity right there, so if I decided, hold on a tick, I don't like that material, you can come back into the case setup, click on here, and then we can choose, let's say, we could use, let's go Vita Mark II, shade, Z4, and then we're going to come back into the end now. So if we wanted to, we're just going to have to skip through all the design software again. But that way you can easily choose the material. We don't have to adjust anything. It's just that the software has to recalculate with everything that we have put in for our new material. Now if you hit correct, it would thicken up that area if we wanted to. So it's got some features, so please wait. Now we're going to be milling this out in Vita Mark II. Now, so you can see we've got either, this is going to fit in, it'll tell you what blocks it can fit in, an I8, I12, I10, I12, I14. So I've got I do have an I8 block here, so I could fit that in a block as big as this. That can be done. Now obviously no, it's not going to fit in, so it's going to let me know. So I'm going to choose an I12 and I'm going to go high definition. Let's see if it fits in a 12 block. If not, I'll go to the 14. Alright, so it's just going to fit in that block, and what we can do now is we can hit produce. So once it goes to the mill, so this right now is sending over to the VHF mill. So it's preparing job, and down the bottom here you can see it's doing its calculation. And at this point in time, taking into consideration prepping, changing blocks and material. Essentially now we're going on 18 minutes. And now we're going into ready to mill. So you can see designing and everything was really simple. I mean, you can even do less than what I just did there, or you could do more depending on how fussy you are. And now basically this has now successfully sent the job over to the mill. So if we come over here now, I'll just refocus this over to our good friend Mr. VHF Z4. And now you can see coming in here, it's given us a little 1. And now the job has been sent over to the mill, as you can see. So we're going to open the door. We're going to fit in, I'm going to fit in this Vita Trilux block, as you can see there. As my Vita 2 block is actually too small on this occasion. Now, The VHF automatically will clamp onto it, so I don't even have to touch anything. We're going to close the door down. We're going to go into the job and we're going to hit play. That's it. 18 minutes later, in high definition, that's going to mill out that block. So if I had have chosen a regular milling strategy, that 18 minutes might have come down to maybe 15 or 13 or something like that. Spindle started to spin. Okay, so the crown is now finished being milled. So what's happened is after it finished, I pulled it out, closed it down. The particular crown came out on the block like so. Sorry about my children in the background. It's that time of day. So I snapped it off. Now if this was this is the Trolux Forte. So with this one, I don't need to fire it, but I'll show you the process behind firing as well as straight polish. So if I wanted to, as soon as it came out, rather than snapping it off like what I did off the block, I could use a little diamond burr, just cut through the little sprue that was there, and then use something like a stone burr just to smooth off the rest of the sprue. And now for this Trolux Forte, all you need is a little polishing burr, so like a little rubber burr just to polish it up, and that's it, done. If you really wanted to, you could use a little bit of paste and a little brush like that, or you can use that on your glass ceramics or zirconia as well. So now that's the Trolux Forte. Well and truly, you could have it scanned, designed, milled, fitted, cemented in the mouth. If you use something like the new Panavia SA, you could have that in the mouth nearly straight away. This is going to bond really well to that, and you're not going to mess around with primers or anything like that. It's all built into the new Panavia SA bonding agent. So and even just a bit of Velo Light, and it's new beauty. Now if we were to go the other way and we wanted to fire, say, Vita Suprenity, this is basically zirconia reinforced glass ceramic, which is that one. So this is what it would look like in the block originally. When it gets milled out, or as it's getting milled out, that's just fully milled, and then obviously stained and glazed. So it's a really nice finished product, if you can see that there. Really nice finish. And what you do, the block's not going to come out like a layered block like the Trolux Forte. So you'd do a little bit of staining. So you'd add in a little bit of clear glaze, you'd add in a little bit of brown, you'd add in, say, a little bit of white somewhere as well, and a little bit of blue. And what you'd do, you mix it clear with the stain, and then you'd paint it on. So, you'd paint a little bit of brown around the incisal edge for staining around there, and you could come around and stain your back. Before you do the staining, one thing you would actually do as well, you put a little bit of firing paste. So we've got some Vita firing paste. You put it up inside the crown, and then you'd use, they've got, the Vita furnace has like little holding tools, basically go up in there. And then if you wanted to, while you're staining, rather than holding it with your hand, you could use a little tool just to hold it, and then you can stain it. So a little bit of yellow or brown around the margin. And then what you can do, if you had a little bit of the blue, you would do a little bit of blue on the incisal edge with maybe a little bit of white on the tip, and you do it around. And then if you really wanted to, give it a little bit of a blow, and then basically, you make it sure that it's thick enough so that glaze takes full effect. And then from here, after you finish staining and glazing, obviously you come into your furnace, you choose your material, Vita Suprenity. That's going to open up. 21 minutes later, it's going to be mighty hot. You're going to pull it out, so it's going to be on its little, no, it's not hot. It's going to be on its little base plate, like so. You're going to fit that into the furnace, and then that's going to start cooking. So let's just close that down. So that's your Vita Sopranity workflow. We're going to take about 20 minutes to fire. Now from here, just so you all know, I'm gonna pull. Usually, after this fires, the paste is going to be like a fairy floss almost. It's really easy to just comes out in one hit. You can blow it out, or if you've got like something, you can clean it out with that. Now, because I am a goose, I should have shown you the fit before I put the paste in there. But let's just pull the paste out, like so. Now, in terms of on our model, I'm going to undo our crown. So, where's my... Yep. So this is the one that I just milled. Now there's a little bit of paste in there still, right? Now I haven't, as I said, I haven't polished this up. What I will actually do, I'll just paint a little bit more glaze over it so you can get the effect of what it would look like if you did polish it up. And obviously this would just need a, if you want to do something like that. So this is that Vita Trilux Forte. Where is the camera? It's over this side. So you can see you get a nice translucent incisor ledge. What is it like in the model though? Let's just quickly test that one. Now I'll just wipe off my glaze that I just put on there. Try and blow out a little bit more of that. So in here, we're gonna pop that down and I'll just tighten it back in again. So one good thing that I like about 3Shape, is what they do is they have like a buffer in their software to protect your margins. So you can see right now, that's not loose, that's like a perfect fit, perfect contact on both adjacent teeth. That's about as good as it comes when it comes to a crown that's finished. So in terms of a workflow, 55 minutes is what you're looking at. So under an hour, well and truly. Actually I stopped that earlier because obviously this finished milling and I went through that and then I realized I wasn't recording. I bumped it earlier, so I had to go back and I'm doing this for the second time now. But it's good because my daughter's not interrupting us this time as much. So, as I said, so if you were to use something like GC Serosmart, or if you wanted to use something like a Trilux 4-day where you don't need to fire it, well and truly you can do same day dentistry in under an hour. You can use like a GC ceramic for inlays or onlays. If you wanted something like a Vita Sopranity, add another 20 to 25 minutes on for a little bit more staining and detail and firing. And then pretty much I'll say you're looking at about an hour and a half. I would always suggest when you're starting out, I wouldn't jump straight in and say, same appointment. I'd always see the patient at the start of the day, get them back at the end of the day. And then, something that simplifies your workflow as well. Sometimes it can be handy if A, you have a steam cleaner, or B, you have a sandblaster. Depending on what materials you're using, sometimes it'll be beneficial to have like a little sandblaster there as well, just to prep up the inside of your, give you a little bit of etching on the inside of your preps with some of the glass ceramics. Or I wouldn't be worrying about it with GC or this because that's going to bond incredibly well to that new Panavia SA. Even your Emax, I would say that bonds, and your zirconia is going to bond really well to that Panavia bonding agent. But if you wanted to have that extra bit of security, a steam cleaner would not hurt, or a sandblaster would not hurt as well. So that's my demo for today. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to throw down the gauntlet. We're going to do a bit of a Plan Mecha workflow soon as well. So we'll do that. You can let me know what you think of it. We'll compare. in reality, the full workflow is very similar, but you know, the advantages are of PlanMecca. For someone that has the exact software, then obviously everything in PlanMecca is going to link into your chair, milling machine, scanner, 2D, 3D, everything can all link in together. With 3Shape, they are good in the fact that they will link into like this mill here, or they've got, you know, 3D printers that you can use with it as well, and likewise you can import in cone beams and stuff like that to do implant planning. So over these next few weeks we're going to be doing, this is your 3Shape design studio. We're going to do the PlanMecca design software and their scan of the emerald. I'm also going to do an implant studio case in both PlanMecca and 3Shape so you can see it. And we'll also, once I get my 3D printer as well, we'll be able to print, I'm waiting for that to come up from Sydney, we'll be able to print some surgical guides on both versions as well. I'll show you at some stage how to do models in both softwares, and then obviously we'll show you in the 3Shape software how you can do in-house splints if you wanted to do that as well with the new material that's coming out. So this is the first video of many coming in the next 4 weeks. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got something out of it. Pretty much, well, the workflow is really easy. You could teach this to any of your DAs if you did want them to be able to do the workflow for you. Obviously that's my job up here in Queensland, or actually technically speaking New South Wales. However, I now have my permit to head up to Queensland, so if I do need to do any installs coming up, I can. Yeah, so that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Take care guys, all the best, and no doubt I'll speak to you in the next video. See ya.